You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Come on, then. I'll bite your legs off!
I can take it. Great power comes great responsibility. We have a fault.
Get to the chopper! And leave. There's the flesh wound.
I am the father.
It is 1976. The American merchant vessel Petrox Explorer has just set sail from the port of Surabaya in search of oil. What they find will shock the world.
We may be sailing into the history books.
She's alive!
You know, maybe my luck has changed.
They will discover an uncharted island that is the home of the most incredible creature on the face of the earth. A creature called Kong. Dino De Laurentiis presents the most exciting original motion picture event of all time. King Kong. King Kong, a fantastic adventure. Open the gate! King Kong. King Kong, unlike anything you've ever experienced before. With Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin, and introducing Jessica Lange as the beauty who charmed the beast. And starring the eighth wonder of the world, King Kong.
And welcome back to the 20th episode of the Monster Movie Stompdown. Now, of course, this is Sludge here, and I'm joined with my co-host right across from me,
Mark,
and our brother from Texas,
Ruben.
And we are back for the next round of Godzilla then Kong, as we're doing double features each month leading up to the release of Godzilla vs. Kong. Last episode was, of course, Godzilla's Revenge, which was bottom of the barrel as far as the stomp downs, but we had a lot of fun with that episode. Actually got a lot of good feedback from people that had a lot of fun listening to it and said it was definitely the funniest episode we've done. A lot of comments about the Playboy remark when it comes to he's talking about the Godzilla photo book.
Yeah.
Yeah. That definitely had a lot of people talking about and laughing about that section. So we're glad you guys enjoyed it. We did. I mean, even though that was a very rough film to get through, we definitely had a lot of fun doing that episode. So hopefully we have as much fun as this one, because this one's going to be a lot. This is a good movie. I'm pumped about this one. Yes. I was super excited. This one we've finally gotten to King Kong, the 1976 remake by Dino De Laurentiis, and can't remember the name of the guy that directed the film, because I think
Gillerman, John
Gillerman. Yep. Which I should have known that, because that's the guy who did Towering Inferno, which is an amazing movie. I love Towering Inferno.
Oh yeah, yeah, man.
So I think it made part. When Dino De Laurentiis was like, okay, who are we going to get to direct a film? We got a big monkey climbing a tower. Well, let's get the guy from Towering Inferno, who threw a lot of, big Hollywood actors out a window from that building. So, it was a good selection for as far as a director. Of course, now I'm gonna get into this whole Dino De Laurentiis thing here in just a second when it comes to this movie. But this came out in 1976. Of course, Universal released it, and it had brought in some. I mean, at the time, one big actor, and that was Charles Grodin, who's in this movie, and he kind of takes the role. They change up a bit. You know, I mean, it's not the same thing as the original one. You know, I mean, you don't have them going to make a film. It's an oil company, Petrox, which is going to try and find oil on this island. Now, of course, Petrox's main guy who's doing this is what's his name? It's Charles Grodin. Wilson, yes. Fred Wilson.
Fred Wilson.
Played by Charles Grodin, who has pretty much, from what he states in the movie, you know, stuck all he has on this idea that there's oil on this island. They find an island that's been mapped a couple times with the fog bank surrounding it, and it's never changed. And of course, we all know it's Skull Island. And then, of course, they go to the island, and what happens? They find the natives, they find Kong. Same story kind of ensues. Along the way, with the female role in this one, is actually introducing Miss Jessica Lange. This was her first role. She was actually just a model at the time. She plays a character named Dwan, of course, replacing Fay Wray's character, but as still an aspiring actress, I guess. Well, she wants to be an actress.
Right.
Fay Wray's character was picked to be an actress, even though she was, you know, just trying to make ends meet to feed herself. And then, of course, we've also got, and he wasn't in a lot at the time, but his dad was still huge. But this was really the big kickoff for Jeff Bridges. He played Jack Prescott, who was actually a paleontologist who sneaks aboard the ship because he's heard rumors of this island and this massive humanoid-like creature, which is obviously Kong. So we get all these characters thrown onto a boat. They head to the island. They do find oil. What ends up kind of sucking, though, is it's going to take about 10,000 more years for the oil to cook for it to be good. So Wilson's character decides he's going to capture Kong to bring back the big one, which he says like 16 times in the film. I found the big one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you did. And so that, you know, they decide to bring Kong back to New York, in which they do. And it's done a little bit differently. You know, they end up having like a big parade instead of in the theater to show Kong off, and Kong escapes. Instead of climbing the New York Empire State Building, he's climbing the World Trade Center buildings.
Yeah.
And of course, everything's pretty much kind of the same. So slight things. It was more about the social economy and powers that be, the big you know, money making companies like oil companies. It was more of a different take on that. But Dino De Laurentiis, he's definitely, for those. You've had to, if you're a movie fan, you've heard the name. Had to have at least heard the name of Dino De Laurentiis. He was a big producer most of the time. I mean, most of the thing he produced, but he really kind of just took over the movie and whatever he was working on. And that's what kind of like, you know, I know that he cast John or hired John to direct the film, but really Dino did it all. I mean, Dino controls of all of his, when it comes to his movies, he controls what's happened because it's his film. And a lot of times, what a lot of people don't know is that Dino actually funded a lot of his movies, you know, through the years. I mean, he actually, of course, you know, he did the remake of Flash Gordon, which we all love. Yeah. You know, he did David Lynch's Dune. He did Evil Dead 2, or his company did. You know what I mean? Did Dino De Laurentiis' company. But he's done a lot of great movies. But he really, his films are his films. And the reason why when you see, you know, it's this production company or this production company you put on this movie or whatever, when you see a Dino De Laurentiis film, you know it's a Dino film because Dino's not just his name, but I guess his style is kind of all over it. You know what I mean, guys? You know what I'm
Yeah.
So I'm trying to explain to people who may not know who Dino is.
And
like,
he's got a signature.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In a lot of these movies. Yeah.
And of course, I mean, he's done so many good movies. Another giant monster movie, giant animal movie he did that I actually am a huge fan of. A lot of people may not know that he did, but should know that he did, is Orca. Did you guys know he did Orca?
I did not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Orca
I
was
did,
a good,
man. That was a big
movie.
deal
Good
there.
movie.
That was a big deal. Yeah, right after Jaws and everything.
Oh, yeah,
there was
man.
a big deal about that. Yeah.
I loved Orca. It was definitely, I mean, I liked it a lot. I mean, of course, like I said, Flash Gordon, he did the Conan the Barbarian and the Destroyer, Dune, Maximum Overdrive. I mean, he's done so many movies. Of course, now I think probably my favorite Dino film, just because I want to say it, just because it's such an amazing film, is he actually is who did the original Death Wish. Dino De Laurentiis did, and that's just
phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
I mean, unbeliable film.
I mean, Halloween 2, Flash Gordon.
Conan
the Barbarian. I mean, he's all over the place. He's done it all.
He's credited
Firestarter.
Oh yeah, I forgot it. Yeah, Firestarter with that wasn't Carpenter. Starman was Carpenter, but still Firestarter. Yeah, he did it.
Firestarter. Yeah,
Dino's he's got more than 500 films under his belt. That's impressive. Yes. Produced, co-produced. You know what I mean? So I mean, he's got dude stacked when it comes to film. So I mean, he was the one who wanted to do the Kong remake, and I don't think at the time you really could have gotten anybody better to do the film, or to put life into the film. So it turned out really, really well for it. And of course, I mean, the actors are great. I loved Jeff Bridges in this movie. Thought he was absolutely phenomenal. I do want to say Jessica Lange as Dwan is probably the most interesting character in the film. And sitting back and looking at it, like I remember when I first watched this movie, I felt like she was way overboard. Like I'm like, man, you were just so eccentric. You're on my nerves. But little do we know, as we continue to watch her career, she was actually killing it. Like she was phenomenal in that role. That wasn't her just overdoing it. That was her giving it her all. Like she did in me. I mean, I mean, how many Academy Awards has that woman won? You know what I mean? So
she actually won a Golden Globe for
Kong. Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
sweet.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, because it did extremely well. I mean, it had a $25 million budget, and did pretty much triple that. It did $90 million worldwide in the 70s. So I mean, it was a box office success, definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, obviously being King Kong. And the timing was great, like Ruben talked about, coming out for Christmas, and especially that, like that Christmas poster. So it was a good timing for the film. And having Kong, who still at this time, he was big. I mean, you had, of course, the 33 film, the immediate sequel, Son of Kong. And then, I mean, it's almost like every couple of years they did a reissue in theaters or a rerun in theaters for the original film. It was just super popular. Then you got the Japanese films, King Kong vs. Godzilla, and then King Kong Escapes. I mean, Kong was big, especially in the 70s. So it was a perfect time for De Laurentiis to come in and say, let's remake the film. And of course, now when they remade the film, obviously stop motion has gone away pretty much at this point. I mean, it's no longer the science fiction or the special effects standard anymore. So they had to go with a couple different routes. Originally, the entire plan was to do a life-size 2-scale robot, which we get to see in 2 scenes in the film.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, unfortunately, before we get into the likes and dislikes. So they did utilize it for 2 scenes. But they ended up going with the man in the suit. And really, it was Rick Baker who had approached Dino, I'm just going to call him Dino for this, about doing that type of special effects. And he wanted to be Kong, which he was, and he did a phenomenal job playing Kong. And for those who do know who Rick Baker is, if you've ever heard of American Werewolf in London, I mean, he's a special effects guru, one of the best of the 70s and 80s, even in the 90s. He did the suit for it, and they got in, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, maybe Carl Combodi. Okay.
Yeah.
He's credited because he did all the animatronics in the mask that Baker wore. Baker made the suit. Carl did the animatronics, and the animatronics in this suit were outstanding. The best ever seen at the time. I mean, it was, I harken back to the scene. There's a scene when Kong gets Dwan on the island, and she gets all muddy trying to escape, and he washes her off in that waterfall, and then starts blowing her dry. And like you see his mouth, I mean, there's nothing. It's all done there.
Well, they won an Academy Award for best visual effects.
I didn't check the awards after this one. I should have.
Yeah,
they should. I mean, rightfully so. Yeah. I mean, this was definitely, to me, is still one of my, other than Kong Skull Island, this is my favorite looking Kong ever.
Exactly, without a doubt.
Oh man, and I'll talk about it. I mean, there's one scene that stuck with me as a kid that I'll get into when we get into our likes and dislikes. That's just mind blowing in my opinion. But so I mean, you had top notch crew members, you had top notch cast. This movie was great. I mean, it was overall just a super great film. The ending was, I mean, pretty bloody actually when he fights instead of airplanes, it's helicopters on the World Trade Centers. I mean, when they're shooting him, man, it's nasty. You know, they get down and dirty with him. But it was super, super great film, man. I mean, if you're a Kong fan, you got to check it out. You know, the next one coming up, King Kong Lives. You got to be a real big Kong fan to watch it. I personally love King Kong Lives. You ever seen that movie, The Big Hit, with Mark Wahlberg?
Right. Yeah.
Where he rents that movie from the video store and it's King Kong Lives. I'm like, dude, that's me. Like, I'm the dude. It's like, I'm never bringing it back. Because I personally love that film. Of course, it's got Linda Hamilton in it, but we'll get to that, in that episode. Yeah. But so they did really well. I mean, it had a great reception at the box office, great critical response. I mean, Mark, you guys stated it's won several awards. It did great on TV. I mean, actually, it was nominated for something else. I just looked at it: cinematography and sound. I will say the soundtrack on this thing was pretty good too. I did like it a lot. Yeah. But let's break down. Let's get into it. I don't remember who went first, last, with likes and dislikes.
I don't remember either. Doesn't matter.
Ruben,
doesn't matter.
Go for it, man. I know this is your baby here, so for Kong fans.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this movie was a huge part of my childhood. I was 10 years old when it came out, and it had been hyped for a whole year. So, like, by the time it came out, I was ready. As a 10-year-old kid, I was ready to see it. What I liked about the film is the special effects were great. I thought the Kong suit was excellent, except I didn't like the robot. I know I'm throwing it in with the likes, but I didn't like the robotic Kong that came out that they rolled out there. But at the time, as a 10-year-old kid, I really didn't care. I just loved it. The special effects were good. I thought the acting was good. I was 10 years old at the time, so the acting, didn't really resonate with me till later on as an adult. I'm watching. I say, they did pretty good for what kind of movie they were trying to make. I thought they did good. I thought the acting was real good. I thought Jeff Bridges did great. I thought that Jessica Lange did great. I mean, I just liked the whole concept of it that they did. I liked the storyline they did because it was more relevant in the 70s than versus the 1933, where none of those issues were at the forefront. But with this movie, they used it to bring it to it was an oil company rather than a movie company, and bringing them to New York, and the way they basically made them into a money-making machine, which they did in 1933 also, but this one was a little different. Bringing them out, rolling them out, and a giant, gas pump.
That
was amusing. Yeah, so I like the soundtrack. In fact, I own the soundtrack on album. The album is pretty interesting. This is how much they thought about it. The album comes with a poster, but the poster folds out of the actual album cover.
Oh, that's
so it's not
cool.
It's not a separate poster. You can take it off, but mine's not like that. I left it on there. It folds down to a giant Kong poster. It's about 3 times the size of an album. If you unfold it 3 times. So I really like the soundtrack enough that I own it, and it's really great. There's really not much I didn't like about the movie, but because this one's like Godzilla versus Monster Zero for me. It's just one of my favorites non-Godzilla movies that I can watch over and over and over again. That I wish they had a nice, clean copy out there. I wish they would remaster it and put it out on a Blu-ray or 4K, but haven't seen one yet. But I really wish they would do that. It's hard to find a real clean copy out there. So that's what I like. I liked everything about it. I'm going on and on about it. I'm trying to separate what I like and what I liked about it out. it's hard for me because it's just so much about it. Later on, I'll talk about my favorite. We'll talk about our favorite scenes, but it was cool. I mean, there was nothing uncool about it, and just talking about it gets me excited again. And it's just one of those movies I watch. It's on regular rotation. If it's on TV and I'm flipping through, I'm stopping and I'm watching it. Especially now, there's a fairly high definition copy, out there, rather than the DVD that I have that it's not really that great. So that's it, man. I know I kind of ranted on that, but it's kind of hard not to try to separate everything I liked about it. So I'll hand it off to one of you guys now.
Man, it is good. I forgot to mention too, because we talked about this before. You were like, "Oh, which version did you watch?" Now, you guys know that there is 2 versions of this film. I totally forgot about this. So when they first came out to the theaters, it was highly trimmed down. Because I mean, we'll have to bring up the elephant in the room on this one. There's the scenes with Kong and Dwan get pretty sensual for a King Kong.
Yes,
King Kong film.
Right.
So a lot of that was trimmed down, as well as some of the language when Dino released it to theaters. When I think it was, I'm wanting to say it was NBC, but
it
wasn't
it was
NBC.
NBC.
Okay, so they bought the rights.
It was
to the
over
film.
a 2-night period. Yeah, it was over a 2-night period that they showed it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, and I remember they sunk a ton of money to get the rights to it. And yeah, Ruben's right. It was only like 2 nights within they only do it like twice in like 2 years or something like that. It was something insane. Especially for the money they spent. I mean, they spent millions to get the rights. But they restored I think like 45 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
To the T. So there are 2 versions. So there's like that the hour and 30-minute version, and then there's like a 2 hour and some minutes out there. I think I have I've got the Plex one. I think is the 2 hour one. I think it's the extended cut, if I'm not mistaken.
Like 2 hours and 8 minutes. Or
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. So, but there
Well,
is.
I think the 2 hour and 8 minute one wasn't that the one at the theaters? Am I confused?
No, the one that was released in theaters was shorter. It was edited out so they can so that Dino could get a better, more family friendly rating.
Okay.
Yeah, the original theater time was 134 minutes, so hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because I have the 2 hour one on DVD. It's 2 hours.
Okay, so then that's the one that's on the Plex. So the one that was released in theaters, so there may not even be an actual hard copy of it then. That's ever been released, but they did trim down the theatrical version for some of those scenes that we're probably all used to now because they brought it on TV.
Yeah.
It was okay at that point. But
I do know that the way you can tell the difference is like the one I saw yesterday was on it was on HD Network. I forget which one now. HD Movies. It was 2 hours, and like the Fred Wilson death scene. I put that in parentheses in quotations because we don't really know.
Oh,
his
where
crushed hat.
Stomped,
Yeah. So, you're watching the extended version because they'll show his hat being crushed there.
Right.
But
my mind's going blank. That's a 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
2 hours and 14 minutes.
2 hours and 14 minutes
is the full runtime. Yeah. So then I guarantee that's what it is because I remember reading about it too. So I bet the theatrical version that was heavily trimmed down would have to be like
okay. Well then I guess the DVD I have is actually the extended version.
Yeah. So that's what. So also.
Okay,
so I'm about to find out now because you guys know how Sludge is, man. He likes having every version of every film.
You've opened the door there.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna have to see if there's a way or if there's a copy of that theatrical cut out there because I like to find it. So so anyways,
because that means that theatrical cuts out there. I don't have it.
There's something out there that you do not have.
Oh,
so what do you do?
The hunt begins. That's what I've been saying here lately. Was it Pete Quint? I put a thing on Facebook the other day about adding half human, which Ruben's response today, dude, by the way, was priceless because he already knew. I told him as soon as I got it, I messaged that dude. I got half human. I mean, half human's never been released on home video. I mean, the Japanese version ever. And and so I put it on Facebook. I'm like, can anybody guess? And Ruben, of course, he already knew, was cool about it. He didn't guess half human. He goes, Titanic extended cut.
Oh yes,
Like,
I did. See, I
yeah.
did see that post there.
Genius comment there. But
Yeah.
but so anyways, back to Kong. I mean, so yeah, there's a version out there, a theatrical version. I'm going to try and hunt it down if it's available. So I'll find it. If anybody can, it'll be me. But there was one other thing I wanted to state, and I totally forgot about it because I was thought about when I was talking about Rick Baker playing Kong, which he's not credited in the film, which drives me absolutely crazy because I feel like his performance was absolutely top notch, and he should have been credited. But do you guys know who voiced Kong?
I can't
I
answer
do.
it because I know because
Do
I just,
you know-
I just read it. Just
Yeah,
as you were
so
saying
you're
it,
looking up
I'm
on your
looking
phone.
at it.
Okay, so
I only know because I know I was reading that he lost his voice. He lost his voice doing it.
I heard that. Yes.
Yeah, that he had lost his voice doing it because it was like like a 6-hour session that he did it over. And
Man, it would be unbelievable.
I'm going to let you say the name because I can't.
Okay,
it's not
so
coming to mind right now.
so for those listening, going, tell us the dang name. It is none other than
Yeah.
Peter Cullen, the old. I mean, Optimus Prime
Oh, yeah.
himself, voice King Kong.
That's right.
That's super cool, man. Like, I mean, when you go like, oh, how are we gonna do the sound effects? Oh man, just call Peter. He'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't remember, and I reckon I'm not sure, but I didn't realize Joe Piscopo from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
he's in
Yep.
here.
He plays. He's one of the. Isn't he one of the Petrox guys?
He's a reporter. He's one of the reporters
Oh.
in it. Yeah. Corbin Bernsen. Is that Bernstein? Yeah.
Bernstein.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a reporter in this thing too. And
I'm trying.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did not know that.
Telling you, Dino knows how to pick his cast, dude.
Yes.
Definitely can. So, Mark, what about you? What are the things you dislike about the film?
Well, I mean, when I started watching it, of course, it brings back old memories. I mean, this 1976 to date, before Skull Island came along, this was my favorite King Kong movie. It was to me, I loved it. Really started to like Jeff Bridges and the actors that they had in it, and really got used to them because at that time I'm what 15 years old. I'm into sports. I'm into everything but sitting down watching TV. I'm outside all the time, that kind of deal. So you take your time, you sit down, and you watch King Kong, and it's a great movie. It's just it is just fantastic, start to finish. And I thought they did the musical score's great in it. Everything about the movie was fantastic. I mean, I was glued to the TV. I thought the acting parts were good. Jessica Lange, I thought, man, this is a dizzy blonde.
Yeah,
I really did. It's like, man, she is. What? Who is this person here? And but then you start to like her as you go on through the movie and stuff, and so I thought overall was a really good movie. Probably one of the worst things, and if I say a negative thing about the movie is when they go on Skull Island and there's all the natives on there. Sometimes I think they just make them act stupid. I would like to see a Kong movie that's going to come out and they've lived on this island with these monsters, this giant ape, and they've survived. They're pretty smart, and they don't act, as dingy as they want to portray them. So one of these days, I mean, it's going to get real good, and it's going to come out. But overall, I give it a thumbs up, man. Great movie, great acting. And obviously the visual effects, they win an award. It's great from that, coming up to that time. It was like, oh my gosh, have you seen this movie? Have you seen this ape? And so I thought overall it was a really, really good movie.
Oh, dude. I mean, I'm with you guys. This one, I love it. I honestly, I'm trying to think. I can't recollect which I saw first, this one or the 33 film. I don't know if you remember.
I think it was this one.
This one probably, so it probably was this one. I was like, man, I don't remember which one I'd seen, and which would make sense because I love this one. I absolutely love this Kong film. I mean, I'll go ahead and get my dislikes out of the way real quick because it ain't going to take much. The snake, I didn't like the snake. Like we talked about it back on King Kong Escapes. Like I just did not like the snake, although it was pretty brutal when he rips him in half. That was pretty awesome. And I didn't like. Charles Grodin, but I've never been a Charles Grodin fan. So I could deal with this character, and he plays the role great. I mean, he does a really good job as Fred Wilson. I just don't like him as an actor. And then they never actually call Skull Island in this film.
Yes.
They reference a skull shape type deal, but they never call it Skull Island. That was my only disappointment. And as a kid, I didn't really care. Watching it as an adult and through the last decade, I'm like, man, that drives me nuts. They never actually call it Skull Island. That's the only dislikes. Likes, just about everything else. Like, I love this movie. To me, I love Jeff Bridges. Him as Jack Prescott. I think he's probably the best, my favorite character. If Jessica Lange didn't absolutely do such a stellar job playing a ditzy blonde, then I would say Jeff is the best actor in the film. But she really, especially as you go back now and look at her, it's like, man, she absolutely killed this role for coming from no acting experience. She had none, not a TV commercial, nothing. She was a model, and she knocked it out of the park. I mean, truly knocked it out of the park. And there's moments with her character that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stand you. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Especially when it comes to her and Kong, the development between the two of them. Not so much like you look at like Naomi Watts, and we'll get into her in the next King Kong remake in 2005, Jackson's, is you see her from going from the fear to falling in love with Kong in one kind of smooth, it just happens. With Jessica, there's turmoil there. She's afraid, but then she's not sure what to think. I mean, at one point I think about when she starts hitting him in the face, and it's like, go ahead and eat me. She's at wit's end. She knows it, but then she's like, oh no, wait, I'm just kidding. Like she backs even in New York. When she's coming off, when Kong breaks out, she almost looks scared. And I feel like if Charles Grodin's character, if Fred Wilson wasn't saying come down, I don't think she would have ever gotten up the stairs. I think she would have just let Kong walk right to her. And to there at the end when the helicopter shows up and she's like, "Do not put me down. Don't put me down."
Right.
It was so much more organic. The relationship between the two of those. And I don't think that anyone's captured that since. I don't even think Fay Wray captured it that well. I love her. She was just phenomenal. But to me, the star of the show is Kong himself, man. And Rick Baker freaking knocked it out of the park playing Kong. You see, of course, the physical movements, but a lot of it's his eyes, because that's really where he's going to act from in this, is his eyes. In the combination, of course, utilizing Peter Cullen for the voicing was an amazing choice too. But Baker was phenomenal. He had his moments of when he let you know, I'm the alpha. I am God on this island. And that was the first time I've ever remember going, man, Kong can whoop some people's rear end. Like, the dude gets violent in this film. And when you when you look back and you see, and of course the animatronics and the face help so much with the expression, but when you look at Kong in 33, he was violent. He fought a T-Rex, he took him down and ripped his mind. But he never came across as intimidating as a violent creature. Baker,
exactly. In other words, when he was fighting the T-Rex, there was always that, there was like, okay, the T-Rex could get the upper hand on him, but with this movie,
with Baker,
then there was no one getting the upper hand on Kong. There was nothing going to get the upper hand on Kong. Of course, minus the helicopters, machine guns.
Which even then, would he take two of those down?
Well, I think also,
and it's funny. I remember the theater watching it, and the whole theater cheered when he knocks that helicopter out of the sky. The place went wild. It was so much fun to watch. When and you guys know it, when you watch a movie and you're in a movie theater where the audience actually reacts to things, it's so much more fun to watch. And I remember that vividly. The whole audience just started cheering when he knocked that helicopter out of the sky.
Oh, dude, that's one of my favorite scenes. He is so. Baker is absolutely, his violence is scary. Because it's brutal. You feel the power of what Kong should really be expressing for what he is. But then he's also got those subtle moments of curiosity when he first sees Dwan, to those moments of when he's in the oil tanker and she falls and he holds her. he manages to portray, this is the person I love, but I'm at a point right now where I am so depressed and lost because they've taken him from his home that he looks like he could just slip off to sleep and never wake up again. Like, he did such a great job portraying Kong in this film. And
well, I'll go out on a limb and say this, and I think you all would agree. Kong outacted Charles Grodin.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, Kong, the character, was way better of a character than Charles Grodin. And I'm not saying that to
knock
Charles Grodin or anything, to knock on Charles Grodin. I'm just saying Kong as a character was way better, way more interesting. I mean, it was just great, you know. And that's a guy in a suit. You know, you forget even though it's not an accurate, you know, what people tell you, that's not an accurate description of how an ape really looks. But when you're watching the movie, you forget that. And that's a key element to me of a good movie is when you're looking at an ape in a suit and you forget that's a guy in a suit. That's King Kong, and that's all you know. You know, that's awesome.
And you mentioned his eyes earlier, you know, and for the movies coming up, as we're, you know, the Godzilla movies, even the King Kong Godzilla movie. I mean, if you look at the eyes, they just don't, they're not real. But here's
never are.
Yeah. But here in this movie, you look into his eyes and you can tell, and it would just create such a better action or actor.
Oh, it gives true life to the creature.
And really changes a part of the movie that you're not used to if you don't watch a lot of them.
Yeah. And even the little things like being able to see Baker breathe in the suit, you know, I mean, that's a huge difference too. And it brought so much life, and he brought power to the character, you know. I mean, when Jack, or Jeff Bridges' character, rescues Dwan from Kong's lair, which, by the way, was the creepiest, awesomest looking top of the mountain setting ever. I loved it. So when he rescues and he's fighting that snake, he's obviously mad, but then like, I'm like, oh, he's real mad. Like, he's fighting it and he's into it and it's intense and he's fighting the snakes wrapped around him. But when he turns and looks and sees Jack with her, oh, dude, like, he went pure evil. When I'm done with this, that fight ended there. If you remember, like, as soon as he looked, that was it. There was no more struggle with the snake. He ripped that snake in half, and he was like, oh no, you ain't taking my girl. Like, he was furious.
Well, almost to the point he's kind of showing off in front of her until he sees Jack. He's like, this is done. We're going
time
on.
to get real. And it's like, and if I was Jack, I'd be like, I'm leaving you. I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, he just ripped a 40-foot snake in half when he looked at me. I'm out of here. You know, it was he was phenomenal. And to me, and I really thought about this because I actually replayed the scene 3 times when I watched it, not before last. When he's in New York. One of my dislikes was obviously, like, we all agreed the mechanical Kong was just absolutely. I'm glad they didn't go with that the whole film, but I thought they should just left it out the whole film period. But
I agree. They should have just gone with the guy in the suit.
Yeah, should have just kept Baker in it the whole time.
They could have done it. I mean, they could have done it
very easily,
but they didn't.
I think Dino was like, man, we spent a lot of money on it. Let's at least throw it in there somewhere so it's not wasted. I think I would. I mean, that's the only reason I can think he would do that. But in New York, the subway sequence, I went back and watched that 3 times. It's my hands down my favorite scene in the film. I mean, above par to most any other scene in the film. But watching that, like, the moment at the end of that scene where he takes and he's picking up those subway cars and he tosses the one, but he rips open the top of the second one, and when he throws it down. Well, first off, he rips it off and pulls that girl out. And when he's like, oh, you're not Dwan, and just tosses her to the street like the rag doll, I was like, oh my God. And he's just mad the whole time. But then he throws it, and that explosion as he turns, and you get that side portrait of him walking. Dude, that's one of the baddest scenes in movie cinema. Yeah. Like, I'm looking at him like,
I agree.
They're the only scene. Like, I'm comparing that to Godzilla scenes. Like, I can't think of many Godzilla shots where I'm like, it's as bad as that shot right there of Kong. You think of, like, to me, like, I go to 1984 or 85 when he first appears and that dude falls and you get that camera angle up.
Yes.
How amazing that was. That was the shot in Kong. that with that train, I was like, dude. I mean, I want a poster of that still shot there because I was just like, dude, it was intense, and every bit of it. I mean, even all the way up to the final scene. When he is fighting to save her. You really feel it, you know what I mean? That you were watching 33, it's like, oh, he's got to fight these planes because they're attacking him. No, he puts her down, even though she's fighting him tooth and nail the best she can. Don't put me down. And it's that whole thing was amazing. I loved the film. Definitely. I mean, outside of Kong Skull Island, I mean, it's my favorite Kong film. Yep. I mean, I love the original one, and the original one's definitely, as far as, if we're talking what's a better film, you got to give it to 33 being a better film because of what it's done. And I love Jackson's film too, but this is, I mean, hands down, outside of Skull Island, my favorite Kong film because it's just, it's amazing. The only thing that was really awkward, and we've got to talk about it. I told Sarah, I was telling my wife about it. I'm like, there's an elephant in the room you got to bring up when you're talking about this film because there's no way to not, if you've seen it. Mm-hmm. It's pretty sensual between Kong and
actually that was going to be when we talk about the dislikes. That's the only thing that it's not that I dislike it. It's just kind of
it's awkward,
uncomfortable. Yeah,
very uncomfortable points. Well, I mean, and the point where he undresses her, which we know he's not intentionally undressing her, but when he's just rubbing his finger around her hair, just kind of here's this beautiful thing that's captured my imagination, and he's just feeling it out, and he inadvertently pulls her clothes off, or her top off. It's like it is it's awkward, but I think the reason why, because I was really trying to think about this, I'm like, why is it so awkward? It's back to the eyes. It's Rick Baker's eyes. Yeah, exactly. But he has to act with his eyes, so he really overacts. And I think because of the combination, I'm like, dude, this is you're stalker creepy at this point, Kong. Come on, dude.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, I thought about it too, and I said, well, why does it And it's the way he's looking at her.
Yeah, it's all in the eyes. It's
like the way he's looking at her, and that's what it is.
And it does but make it awkward.
At the same time, that's the part that makes you uncomfortable and awkward, but that's the part that makes Kong too. Is something around the eyes,
it makes that his infatuation and falling in love with her become real. You know what I mean? So it's such a necessity because it really does show that. And for a majority of the stuff, when the scenes with the two of them, that's what you get out of it. But there are those scenes in there. You're like, what are we about? Please don't let this happen or whatever is going. You know what I mean? It's like, this is very.
This needs to stop right here. Let's move on.
It's almost like those things where there's a scene coming, but your mom's in the room and you just want to fast forward really quick. There's a couple of spots.
That's exactly right. I'm like, well, I'm sitting there and, I sat there and watched it with my wife. She'll sit there and watch it. And even, we've been married for 27 years, but still I'm like, well, this is kind of
this is awkward.
I am uncomfortable right now.
So, I mean, I guess that's there.
That's the funny thing is when I went to see at the movies, I went with my nephew and my sister-in-law, or his mom. And when we got out of the movie, she asked me, I was 10 years old. She asked me, what did you think of Dwan in the movie? Did you think she was pretty or did you, and I was 10 years old. So I'm like, I don't know, I just was not interested in that at the time for some reason.
Right.
And she asked me that. And I remember thinking, why is she asking me that? Well, now I know.
Oh yeah.
Now I know why she was asking me. She wanted to know, what I thought of her. I didn't think anything of her at the time. Now I think she was gorgeous. I'm like, man, she was a good looking woman.
Jessica Lange's always been a very beautiful actress.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's a beautiful woman, but I remember that conversation and her asking me, and I'm like, I don't know, I guess so. I went to see Kong. I didn't care about the girl.
She didn't have,
exactly.
Yeah, and she didn't have to ask Kong what he thought. He clearly made that.
Everybody did that.
But phenomenal film. I mean, there's so little. Cumulatively, it's just very little that we didn't like about the film. I mean, you guys really didn't have anything.
I mean, yeah, I didn't. Other than that, awkward scenes and a lot of people kind of put it down saying it was a little campy, but I like it. I mean the way they made it. Yeah, it is a giant monster film. We're talking about,
and I think one of the better ones.
Oh yeah,
and one of the better ones. Yeah, and
I mean, there's the little nitpicks like like Charles Grodin. I mean, I don't like him as an actor, but that really honestly doesn't take away from the film. Like so my only complaint would probably be the snake and the Skull Island deal. You know what I mean? But man, that snake.
Yeah, and I would also like to see more creatures on the island.
Yeah,
I mean that would have been
cool.
nice. Yeah, it would have been all right. But the snake was not. The T-Rex was better done in the 1933 than this snake.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
And it doesn't help that Kong looks so good that it just makes the snake look even worse. I could have totally went without the snake. I'm like, just take it out. Don't need it. What's the point?
But I remember seeing that poster for it. That snake fight poster, and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. And then, like I said, I was 10 at the time, so the snake was fine for me. I was like, well, but now I look at it, I'm like, man, they could have done a lot better with that snake.
Oh yeah,
and it would have, I would have liked to see a couple of more creatures on there.
I mean, when we did King Kong Escapes, I mean, when I saw the serpent in the water and that one, my mind instantly when that scene went to this film for the snake in here, I'm like, oh my god.
It's just like that. To me, it's in the same category, and I'm like, because you see it, and it's a sore thumb, because the rest of the movie is so well done. Oh, yeah. And then this comes out, and I think you're right. Kong was so well done, and then you have this.
Yep.
And you're like, well, hey, wait a minute, but other than that, shoot, there's not, like I said, this is one of my favorites. I collect all kinds of stuff from it. I have Slurpee cups and posters and the soundtracks and whatever I can get my hands on. I'm always on the lookout. Not only that, it's reasonably priced out there. I can get the stuff reasonably priced.
Right.
But there was I think I've mentioned it in other shows. There was just a blitz of merchandise out there when it came out. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. That was back in the day. I know they still do it now, but 7-Eleven would have cups. Burger King would put out some stuff too.
Well, I remember.
I think it was Burger King.
The glass cups.
Yeah.
I remember. I've seen the Kong one. Don't own one, but I know exactly which cup you're talking about with the Kong one. I remember seeing that.
I think it was Burger Chef or something. That's what it was back then. I think. I'm not sure. It was one of the burger restaurants, the fast food burger restaurants, and it was like real glass. It wasn't the plastic.
It might have been
real glass.
It might have been Burger Chef.
Yeah.
I don't even know what a Burger Chef is.
Burger Chefs were great. Were
Were they?
Oh yeah.
Not around anymore. Great enough that they're no longer here. That's those.
Well, Hardee's bought them out, and then
Oh, did they?
There, but
okay.
Yeah, that was
In my opinion, they were better.
Hardee's bought them out, and then they went out of business. But they would always do these glass. I still have a couple, Wonder Woman and Superman. They would do these actual glasses. You go in and bought a Pepsi, and you got these glasses, real glasses, and they were cool. That's why I'm thinking it was Burger Chef, because the Kong ones, the real glass ones.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, my poster that I had on my wall, I bought at 7-Eleven. It's a King Kong poster that I bought. I bought
cool.
that at 7-Eleven. Yeah, that was a 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
We'll give me an icy and a Kong poster. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, but that was, I think I already told this story. That was the one where my mom wouldn't let me go to the store to buy it, but my friend who had his bike and drove, was riding all over town with it. Showed it to me, and my mom gave him money to go buy it for me, because she was not going to let me go by myself to go get a Kong poster, and I wanted to go so bad, she wouldn't let me.
Dude, that's the moment I would have snuck out of the house. Here's my low ball moment in my Godzilla, King Kong, whatever fandom. I remember being let's see, moved to Tennessee. What was that? 10, 11, 4th grade.
You 9 and 10, 10,
10.
10.
Okay, my grandmother opens up a consignment shop down from front of her house in Blumville, Tennessee, called the Olive Tree, I think. Or Olive
Yes,
something. Okay.
yes.
So across the street from her consignment shop is a Food Country, same thing as a Food City, just a grocery convenience store, and it's got everything you think of. It's a grocery store, and they have a magazine rack there. So she sends me over there with some money. I need you to get me A, B, and C. I don't even remember what these items are. I just remember, and I still remember this vividly. I remember walking in, and she gave me just enough money to get the items she needed. I remember walking in, and my eyes glanced across the magazine rack, and there was a G-Fan magazine sitting there, and that's it. I walked back, and I've got the G-Fan magazine, and Ma's like, "Where's the stuff?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I totally spent your money on this." Dude, she was livid.
Oh, yeah.
She was not
Oh,
happy.
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, my bad."
That's great. No,
You took a bullet for Kong. That's what you took a bullet for Godzilla, so that's all right.
I didn't get A, B, or C, but I got this.
I got something so much better, Mom. This is way better. So, well, all right. So what we've decided to do, this is going to be, a solid four out of 5.
Yes.
For this one.
Yes.
I mean, it's a really good movie. Really good. I mean, just the small little things is probably what keeps it from the full 5 out of 5. But man, I mean, I love it. I love this movie. I was super excited preparing for this one. Like, we prepare for a lot of films, and I don't often put something on the Facebook page. Oh, I'm fixing to watch this for the next one. I had to on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Sarah was making fun of me because I shared it on my personal page too and said it's time to start monkeying around. She's like, that's about as lame as it gets right there. Come on, I love it. So, any final thoughts on the film?
Great movie. Just in the step with the Kong series, I think it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
But I think the 76, then I think they take a little dip after that and then come back up. But 76 was a thumbs up before.
So I was like, a dip. King Kong. Peter Jackson's
Kong
Kong was great. I'm like, oh yeah.
Let's go to the next one.
Lives. Yeah. Man, I love King Kong Lives. Yeah, it's one of those. It gives me that. You guys remember Joe Bob Riggs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It gives me a Joe Bob Riggs. Like, I would love to have seen him do this on his little drive-in or drive-through. B-movie thing.
Driving theater.
Yeah. Oh, this would have been perfect for that show. I think. Perfect.
Yeah.
Ruben, what about you? Any last thoughts? I mean, this is your movie, man.
Yeah, this is one of my all-time favorites. It's up there. As far as it's my favorite Kong. I mean, 33 is kind of like Godzilla 54. You kind of have to separate it.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna ask me of all the Kong movies, including Godzilla versus King Kong, I like Skull Island, but this one is still my favorite of all the Kong films that Kong makes an appearance.
Wow.
This is still my favorite. Yeah, it's just my favorite, and it's part nostalgia, part it makes me feel like a kid again. So that's probably why I like it. Because the older I get, the more I want to feel like a kid.
Right.
So,
right. I mean, even for me, like
it's really good. Go ahead.
I'm with you, man. Like, I mean, I probably do put Skull Island just a little bit above it, and that's only because of Kong and the Skull Crawlers. I mean, it's not far above it. I mean, this one's real. I mean, they're right there neck and neck. I mean, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is Skull Island better made? Yeah, it is. But as all y'all know, I give nostalgia. I always give nostalgia some points, and the fact that this one's always going to be have a special place in my heart. Anyway, I got to see it it wasn't even a duplex. It was just a single theater.
Single screen.
So it was just one. They had one screen. The air. And I know I've mentioned it before. That's where I want. This theater would show the Godzilla movies too. So it's called the Air Theater. Wasn't in the best part of town, but they always had. They had King Kong. They got King Kong. No other theater in town had it. They got it somehow. I don't know how that worked back in the day.
Instantly makes it a better theater right there. Like
so it was. It was an old style theater. It was a lot of these theaters now are concert venues. That's the kind of theater it was. Believe it or not, this is now a church. The Ayers Theater got bought some, a non-denominational church, and it's a church now.
That's awesome.
It's a fellowship. Yeah, it's a fellowship type deal. Yeah. And so that's what it is now. And, you know, and every time I pass by it, for the longest time, they kept that marquee up. There was a marquee in the very, you know, there's a marquee in front of the theater, but then this one had another one like closer to the street. And it would have the name of the movies on there, you know.
Yeah.
So it had two marquees, yeah. And that marquee was there forever. Even when the church had it, they would put up their you know, service times and stuff on it. So, you know, all that combined, this one is by far my favorite King Kong movie. And as far as you know, giant monster movies, we did our top 10 list, our top 5, and I believe this was on it. I don't even remember now. But this is actually one of them. Non-kaiju, I guess. I don't know if this would be considered kaiju or not, but
I'd still throw it in there
it's
for
one of my
kaiju film.
favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, there's not much. This movie is fun to watch. It's got some comic relief in there. There's a lot of good one-liners in there. You know, like the one that always sticks to me is when Charles Grodin gets on the island and he steps on there and he says, "Let's not get eaten alive on this island. Get the mosquitoes."
Yeah, get the mosquitoes.
I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, I thought that was just the funniest line ever. I'm like, man, this guy, you know, or when they're up to that wall and Jack says, "Well, I don't know." He goes, "Oh, this wall is as ancient as can be." And then all of a sudden you hear the drums. And, you know, he goes, "There's no humans on the island." You know, and then all of a sudden,
Man,
all of a sudden there comes the drums.
I gotta,
you know, there's just.
Sorry, you said the wall, and I didn't think about this earlier, and none of us brought it up. The scene when Kong breaks through the wall in this movie was, wow, man. I mean, sound effects, every bit of it. I was like, dude, again, going back to him being brutal, that was just,
well,
exactly.
When you were talking about that, I thought about that scene. I mean, he was going to get through that wall. He was going to bust through that door, you know, and he was going to get there.
Beautiful scene.
That's good. And you know what, and you mentioned it before, I mean, that death scene is brutal too. I mean, it's just
very bloody.
When they did a perfect job on that. When the bullets hit them, you know, those turrets start shooting, and they hit them, man. They did it. You know, it's just when they hit him, you could see the explosion, how it explodes off his fur, you know, off his chest there, and it was really done quite well. You know, this movie just has a lot of great classic scenes that I think a lot of people would enjoy. You know, if you like that type of, I mean, you know, I liked it, even with that little bit of a I guess you'd call it a love story between Kong and Dwan. Yeah. You know, it was a one-sided, but I think at the end she really cared for him. I wouldn't say, you know, in love, but she cared for him. She didn't want him to die.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
I agree. Definitely.
You know, she didn't want him to die. Even Jack Prescott tried to make a deal with the government to
save
try
him.
to save him. Of course, typical government, you know, double crosses him.
Always.
So it's got a little bit of everything in it. I don't think anybody that throws this in will not enjoy it. I think it's a great film to watch. Yeah. And nothing but great things to say about it.
Super. I'm with you guys too. Just absolutely. I loved it. Super, super fun. I mean, especially, you know, at that time in the 70s. I mean, if you think of giant monster films, I'm thinking of, you know, Last Dinosaur, this movie, some of the Godzilla films, even, what was that Toei one, Legends of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds. I mean, this one to me was definitely above par on many levels for the 70s when it comes to giant monster films. It's just super, super good. So highly recommend it. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely you need to check out. It is. I mean, you know, we all like it highly.
You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, it's so good. So far better than a majority of the Kong films. I mean, just far better. So super, super good. So, all right. Hopefully you guys liked it. And of course, 4 out of 5 stomps from us for this film. Definitely check it out. We all highly recommended it. And we'll be back next with Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster.
Yes.
Is the next one as we go in the Godzilla rotation. Then followed by King Kong Lives, which I'm pretty excited about it too. I mean, that's got a
Well, I've got a story about King Kong Lives that I can't wait to tell.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. So,
Yeah.
for those who didn't know about King Kong Lives, it's a direct sequel to this King Kong film. And Kong manages to survive. A doctor gives him a mechanical heart, played by Linda Hamilton, who I absolutely love, who was unbelievably amazing in the new Terminator movie, by the way. If you guys have not seen it, man, it's so good. And he ends up finding a lady Kong, a female Kong, and the fights.
Took a right turn,
a huge right turn. But you know what? At least they made some sense out of it. They didn't with Son of Godzilla. It was just an egg. Like, where'd this come from? This one, hey, at least got. But man, I mean, come on, we'll get to it. But the end of that movie, totally worth it. But before then, Godzilla versus Smog Monster. This one's going to be awesome. I mean, I can say it without even us even talking about it. The three of us love this upcoming Godzilla film. It's it is. Yeah. I wouldn't call it it wouldn't be the black sheep of the series, but it's very unique. It's its own. I mean, it really stands out. But for really good ways. So I'm really excited about this one because this one's going to be super, super fun to talk about. I think it'll be pretty long episode, a longer episode than normal. Yeah. So
that was my trip to the Castle Theater.
It has a classic GIF in it. It has the classic GIF in it too, like Monster Zero does.
Yes, it does. So we will
be a lot of fun.
We're going to see some silliness out of this one for a brief moment. But, it'll be good. So.
It'll be good.
All right. Well, man, again, thank you guys so much. We just enjoy doing this. Like, even if you guys didn't listen, we'd probably still just do this anyways because it's so much fun for us. But thank you guys for listening. We always love hearing your feedback. We always love just anything that you guys do, communicate with us. So just definitely keep doing that. And we'll definitely see you next month. For the next one, for the next month, when we Stompdown, being Godzilla vs. Smog Monster, followed by King Kong Lives, as we creep closer and closer to Godzilla vs. Kong in March 2020. So, and hopefully, we'll jump on that real quick before we end the episode. Still haven't gotten the trailer out for this yet. There's a lot of kind of nervousness because we're 4 months away with no trailer. I personally think Warner Brothers and Legendary, they don't want to spend the marketing money they did on Godzilla King of the Monsters. Because that hurt them financially when it comes to what it did in the theaters. Still a success, but not. It's a bomb compared to the first two financially. Even though it's a far better film. It just blew my mind.
Oh yeah.
But I think they're going to be waiting to the holiday seasons before they drop a trailer. I know a lot of people.
I was going to say, probably when you go see Star Wars.
Yep. I bet that's what's going to be on Star Wars. I think the same thing. Yeah. Because I don't think they're going to. It's in a great place in the March release date, a good pocket for it to stay. So I don't think they're going to push it back. If they were, we probably would have heard by now. But we're still waiting for the trailer, but it's coming. So, so we are building up to that, and all films. It's really, to me, all films are a -1 Godzilla film. No, I wouldn't even call it a downhill. I think every Godzilla film from here on out. For till Godzilla vs. Kong is a steady uphill climb. And the same for Kong. For me, at least, is an uphill climb. We got 3 more Kong films.
Yes. To me, it was a dip. Then we started.
A dip. Okay. I'm gonna change your all's minds next episode. I promise you. So.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, man, again, thank you guys so much. This is Sludge
and Mark
and Ruben.
Y'all have a good night.
Good night.